This is Campus News, reporting the top stories from colleges and universities.
Next on Campus News, one MSU Moorhead student dives into the fishy world of research.
Students take a break from studying and break it down on the dance floor.
The University of North Dakota says goodbye to a local legend.
But first, NDSU is remembering the lives of 4 students after a tragic accident.
North Dakota State University is mourning the loss of 4 female students. And here at Severinsen Hall, 3 out of the 4 women were suitemates in their first year on campus. On Monday afternoon, a tragic car accident took the lives of Jordan Playo of Elk River, Megan Sample of Rogers, Danielle Renninger of Excelsior, and Lauren Peterson of Prior Lake. They were traveling back from the Twin Cities to Fargo when tragedy struck. Peterson was driving westbound on Interstate 94 near Alexandria when she slid across the median and hit a SUV traveling eastbound. Law enforcement officials say icy roads and snowy conditions were a contributing factor in the accident. The NDSU student body president says it's inspiring seeing how the university is handling the situation.
Facebook was following it. People were posting all about it, and that was more of an encouraging thing. Obviously, it's a major tragedy for NDSU and for the NDSU community, but to see people posting their thoughts and their comments and offering up their prayers and support for the family and people involved, that was very encouraging to see.
Knutson says even a small time on campus, these 4 women made a huge impact.
I mean, just seeing people come together. These girls had touched a lot of people, at NDSU in their short time being here, and so those friend circles and that community they built. You're getting a lot of people offering them support in any way that they can.
And one comment on Facebook sums up how the campus has grown together. Forget about the wins the sports teams have accomplished. Forget about the major accomplishments NDSU has made throughout the years. NDSU is so much bigger than those sports and accomplishments. NDSU is a community, and that community has 4 less wonderful people. But the entire Bison Nation has 4 beautiful guardian angels. NDSU is offering grief counselors for students, faculty, and staff affected by the loss. Reporting from NDSU, Chase Miller, Campus News.
NDSU also held a candlelight vigil in honor of the 4 students.
Friends are also remembering them with bracelets that have each of their initials on them. Students have the opportunity to meet with over 160 employers in hopes of finding an internship or possible career in their field.
Students from 4-year universities in North Dakota and all over western Minnesota were invited to attend this year's annual Spring Career Fair.
The booths are set, name tags are on, and souvenirs are in place as employers get set for this year's batch of students. It's the annual Spring Career Fair held at the Fargo Dome in Fargo, North Dakota.
This is the biggest career fair we've had since 2008.
Students are dressed to impress, making this a suit and tie affair. Many carry portfolios with several resumes ready to be handed out.
I try to talk to as many companies as I can and just get information, see what I like about them, see if any company likes me, and just hand in the resume, apply online.
One NDSU student is living proof that career fairs can really have an impact on your future.
I was here last fall and talked to a company and they interviewed me, and turned out that they gave me the spot, and it was pretty much invaluable experience that, that's what keeps me coming back.
This is the only annual career fair held at the Fargo Dome, which includes employers from most fields and majors, giving the anticipated 1,200 students a reason to get out and show off their skills.
Puts people out of their element, gives you a chance to tell them what you're all about.
They're face to face with you. Sell yourself, get an interview. That's the whole point.
With a resume and a firm handshake.
All right, thank you very much.
These employers may hold the key to these students' futures.
There are 7 career fairs held at the Fargo Dome throughout the year. Wilkie says the February spring one always brings in the most students and employers. A United States Senator took some time out of her busy schedule to make a stop at MSU Moorhead. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar spoke with students and community members about the concern over the rising debt of student loans and future of higher education.
because it's a much bigger subject for our economy, and because the economic times have not been as easy, it's harder for families to afford to send their kids to college.
She took questions from the audience, ranging from the job market to her co-sponsoring of the PIPA censorship bill. Earlier in the day, Klobuchar spoke with local officials in Moorhead about the dangers of synthetic drugs. Klobuchar is up for re-election this year.
2 years after the collapse of North Dakota State University's Menard Hall, NDSU is heading to court. As reporter Callan Klein tells us, there are allegations of negligence. Callan?
Thanks, Chelsea and Lauralee. I'm here in front of NDSU's largest academic building, Menard Hall, where, as you can see, construction is still underway after the December of 2009 collapse, a setback that NDSU authorities are saying cost them nearly $5 million. And now, they're ready to make some contractors pay.
North Dakota State University is suing 3 contractors over the collapse that scarred NDSU's campus on December 27, 2009. The contractors facing allegations are JLG Architects, Higher Engineering, and Northern Technologies Incorporated. NDSU is alleging that the design for the excavation of Menard was defective and that soil testing was not sufficient. 2 years later, orange fences, construction vehicles, and caution signs are a constant reminder to those walking, driving, or even skating by that there is still unfinished business both inside and outside of this historic building.
Now, as for the amount of damages NDSU will be seeking, that will be determined at the trial. But NDSU is prepared to find reimbursements for the costs of demolishing parts of Menard, relocating offices and classrooms, labor, and other materials. For Campus News, I'm Callan Klein. Back to you.
Campus News contacted NDSU's attorney Dan Hull, who says NDSU's ultimate goal of the lawsuit is to recover NDSU's costs from the collapse. As of now, all 3 contracting companies are denying all allegations.
After a visit to western North Dakota's oil country, Republican presidential candidate Rick Santorum made a campaign stop in Fargo.
Out here, that's what they refer to this area, flyover country. Well, we're landing in flyover country, and it's pretty darn nice here, I might add.
Among the hundreds of people who came out to see him was the president of the College Republicans at MSU Moorhead.
I had been supporting him since the beginning. When we heard that he got in the race, I knew that he was the guy that I wanted to support for the nomination.
But Saul says not all college Republicans at MSUM are sold on Rick Santorum.
They're pretty split on candidates. I think there's a couple of us that are for Santorum, and there's a couple that are for Ron Paul. But there's no one really for Romney or Gingrich, so we're kind of between those 2 candidates.
Santorum has criticized President Obama's view on higher education, saying that it is snobbery to say that everyone needs to earn a college degree. With the stress of schoolwork, jobs, and personal issues, more and more students at the University of Minnesota are facing mental health issues. Since the beginning of the fall semester, the Counseling Center has had around 2,000 patients come in for counseling. University police have also seen an increase in mental health issues. They responded to 1 suicide and 7 attempted suicides. Those numbers are higher than they have seen in past years. The university has started training their police staff on how to handle these situations. They hope that these extra efforts will decrease the number of student injuries and deaths created by mental health issues.
The City of Moorhead is looking for solutions to parking congestion around MSUM and Concordia College. The city invited community members to speak up about the issue at a public forum. They heard from independent consultants who analyzed the issue and offered their own solutions. Current ideas include parking meters, stricter enforcement, permits, and time limits.
Not everyone will be happy with all of the decisions, but some changes, it sounds like, do need to be made in areas where there's most congestion.
Final decisions are expected in May after the city has time to look at the community feedback. Moorhead residents can offer their own thoughts at the City of Moorhead's website. An MSU Moorhead student's fishy work is being published in a research journal. Reporter Caitlin Wigmore has more.
We mostly have config cichlid, which is all this guy over here.
Only a junior at Minnesota State University Moorhead, Randy Citrisno has found his passion, and that passion lies in ichthyology, or the study of fish.
For the betas, what I'm doing is I want to find out whether the presence of another males to have effect the nest size. In the presence of another male, the mating male will produce a bigger nest.
Originally born in Indonesia, Sutrisno came to MSUM after hearing about the biology program and focused his studies on the betta fish.
This betta fish come from my country, so I kind of want to explore more about fish in my country.
Sutrisno has logged many hours in the science lab working on 2 research projects with biology professor Brian Wissenden and fellow students.
He's exceptional in that he has always kept fish. So he has this sort of natural, intuitive sense for how to keep fish and how to breed them, and just has an eye for, when they're doing well, and that is so much of what is success with working with fish. And that's ultimately what we need to get good data, are happy fish.
The process is tedious, and many times the data can come up wrong or not even close to what he and his partners planned.
It depends how off we can readjust the question for the experiment, or if worst comes to worst, we have to redo the whole experiment.
The research on zebrafish and their mating habits will be published in the international journal Behavior. Caitlin Wigmore, Campus News.
Sutrisno says he plans on continuing his work with fish either in grad school or in his home country.
Her 2 passions are teaching and beer. MSU Moorhead biology professor Ellen Brish puts her love of beer into teaching people all about it. The A Beer Seas of Brewing is open to the public and introduces the basics of brewing along with recognizing the different characteristics of beer.
I love how things work and I love explaining how things work. And really good beer is such a personal interest of mine. It's a fun thing to talk about. The rebel in me thinks, well, we're doing this on our own and we're not paying any tax.
The class introduced participants to many books on brewing as well as tasting different types of beer. The brewing class is offered through Comm University. It will be meeting this afternoon at the Bridgeview Liquors and Atomic Coffee in South Moorhead starting at 1:30. Some college students think it's okay to skip classes if the professor doesn't have an attendance policy.
But one MSU Moorhead professor says even if there is no punishment for skipping, students may actually be hurting themselves. Carly Lemkool has more.
Some classes are hard to wake up for, especially if it's a class that isn't very interesting to the student. An MSUM student says he feels students can get the same information by just reading the book.
There's no discussion to the world. There's no extra information. It's not between teacher and student. It's between the teacher and the PowerPoint, and the student is supposed to absorb.
Rotier says he thinks students should be able to engage in their education the way they feel because they pay to go to school. Many professors are putting their notes online for students. Although it is convenient, MSUM professor Lee Vigilant feels that the students are missing something important.
To me, education is an interactional thing. We interact together, we discuss things together, we learn together, we collaborate together, and to me, that's better done face to face.
Online classes are becoming more popular in colleges, but one MSUM student says he feels some classes, like CPR, should have to be taught in class.
I feel like maybe being in class and the teacher showing me how to go about giving first aid and stuff would be easier than just reading it, because then I just have this picture in my head.
Professors can tell if students are skipping, even if there is no attendance policy.
I have a run-in joke that I give on the midterm and final days, and it's welcome back. I haven't seen you since the last exam.
In order to get students to come to class, some professors, like Vigilant, have incentives like extra credit or test questions that are only discussed in class. Vigilant tells his students it's important to come to class because the quality of the class depends on attendance. With photographer Joshua Bergeron, Carly Lemkool, Campus News.
Research has found that the larger the school, the more likely students are to skip class. At the largest universities, up to 40% of students are absent on a typical day. It's the Year of the Dragon, and MSU Moorhead students celebrated by hosting a special night on campus. Reporter Nora Alomron shows us the Chinese celebration.
Okay, now we're going to say it slowly together. In Chinese, 新年快乐 means Happy New Year. The China Night hosted different games and activities. but it also helped enhance other students' understandings of new cultures.
I'm also an exchange student, so I'm interested in Chinese culture. Yeah, I'm from Japan, so China is our neighbor country. That's why I came here.
Last year was the year of the rabbit, but this year
is the year of the dragon in China, and our school's athletic mascot now is the dragons. We thought it would have been pretty cool to collaborate with the Chinese club and host this Friday nights, and we call it the year of the dragons.
Students performed. Some food was cooked the traditional Chinese way, a bit spicy.
Oh my god!
There were also some traditional games.
In the nose, on the face. In Chinese, 贴鼻子.
And to show their dragon spirit, some had dragon tattoos.
Look at my arm!
China is far away from Moorhead, but these students brought the culture and the spirit over to MSUM. With photographer Aristide Sereno, Noor Al-Umran, Campus News.
In China, the New Year is a time of family reunion celebrated by a feast as well as a lantern lighting ceremony.
The MSU Moorhead Office of Diversity and Inclusion is inviting the public to a show of sexuality, eating disorders, and one man's search for identity. Chad Goller Sojourner will share his humorous yet heartbreaking struggles facing adversity as an overweight gay African American raised by a Caucasian middle-class family, in his performance Sitting in Circles with Rich White Girls. His work has been featured on NPR, and in 2010 he was appointed to the National Eating Disorders Associated Diversity Task Force. His performance will be in Weld Auditorium at MSU Moorhead this Tuesday at 7:30. First dates can be nerve-wracking. Speed dating can be intimidating, but when MSU Moorhead students add self-defense into the mixture, it can be a downright knockout.
Reporter Rebecca Liebach brings us inside the ring of this unusual dating event.
We started? Okay, so what's your name?
I'm Danielle.
Nice to meet you.
Half the battle within the first few minutes of any date is the greeting.
I'm from a small town called Browerville.
Getting to know one another, the main focus at MSU Moorhead's speed dating event.
I was a little nervous. Wasn't sure what I would entirely expect. It was nice that the questions were provided for you.
The long table was filled with students who had to surrender themselves from one date and move on to another, all by the ding of a bell. With the last bell being rung, these daters are moving from sweet talking to some serious butt kicking on the floor.
They're all like double black belts and stuff, so it should be a lot of fun.
And then put it on top.
Although the concept of dating and self-defense doesn't usually match up, students didn't seem to mind the pair.
I think it's really good to have like the kind of the social interaction as well as like the somewhat physical interaction. That way you kind of break out of your comfort zone in both areas. And
the night was victorious for some students.
I got a number.
But a struggle for others.
Didn't quite get any numbers, but that's something maybe work on, try catching a few here.
Like the song says, love is a battlefield, and these students witnessed it firsthand. Rebecca Liebach, Campus News.
A Los Angeles rabbi invented speed dating in the late 90s as a way for Jewish singles to meet and find a partner. And now we turn it over to CJ Pierre for a look at this week's sports.
So I hear there's a lot going on up at UND.
Yeah, there's some big news coming out of Grand Forks, and we'll start with the issue over the Fighting Sioux nickname, which is taking a turn once again. With a petition drive bringing the law to discontinue the nickname to a statewide vote, the University of North Dakota is once again using the Fighting Sioux moniker. UND can continue to use the nickname until the vote, but that won't affect the NCAA sanctions that the athletic program will face if the nickname stays. Keeping the nickname could result in UND not being allowed to compete in postseason competition. UND has already lost a track meet invitation to the University of Iowa due to the nickname and logo. And the issue is still a hot topic among students.
It's a tradition for us, and I'm pretty proud to carry a Sioux name, and I feel like that should be, that they should hold that pride to it. It's a pretty big legacy up here.
I think it's been dragging on a little bit too long, but I can understand why there's such controversy being that it's been around for so long.
but I can understand why the Indians, don't appreciate the name being used the way it is.
Now, UND men's head hockey coach Dave Haxtell, a longtime supporter of the nickname, changed his opinion and now believes it will be better for the school to move on. He says that UND wouldn't be able to be successful in Division I if they keep the name, referencing UND's attempt to move to the Big Sky Conference. The statewide vote on the nickname will be on June 12th. This year's men's hockey team at the University of North Dakota is dealing with factors that often make teams struggle, but they say they're doing the opposite. Not only are they a young team, but a high number of injuries have also been impacting the Sioux. Reporter Macy Eglin has the story.
The UND men's hockey team says it has struggled so far this season, but with a winning record as high as theirs, one might never guess they've dealt with adversity. The team is young, and they've also been playing without a full lineup due to all of the injuries they've suffered. In just the first half of the season, the team says around 7 players were injured, 3 of them so badly they are now out for the remainder of the season. The Fighting Sioux say they had a slow start to their season, but say they are back on their game and have specific goals coming toward the WCHA playoffs.
Well, we really fought through a lot of adversity. We've had a number of injuries and a slow start to the season, and we really have regrouped and worked our way up the standings. We're in a dogfight right now to get home ice first of all, and try to move up as high as we can and make a good run in the pairwise standings and get into the national tournament.
Sticking through it, through the adversity, I think Coach Eads said it best. We had a lot of injuries this year, and we just battled through them and, banded together, and we put together a run, like I said, in the second half, and hopefully keep that going and, stay healthy now and just win games down the stretch.
The men realize things won't be easy as the season nears its end. Their upcoming games will have to be played differently than their last few.
I don't think we're going to go out and win too many games by 4, 5, 6 goals. We're going to have to win a lot of games 2-1, 3-2. So I think just we're a tough team to play against, and we play real solid defensive hockey, kind of limit the other team's chances, and I think that's how we're going to win games.
After the playoffs, the Fighting Sioux are hoping to play in the WCHA Final 5 and the NCAA Regionals. If they can make it through those, they'll get to play in the NCAA Frozen Four tournament. With photographers Garrett Madison and Daniel Ziebel, I'm Macy Eglin, Campus News Sports.
The Fighting Sioux take the ice tonight at 8 when they go up against Denver. The UND women's basketball team has named its new head coach. Travis Brewster will take control of the team in the beginning of the 2012-2013 season. Brewster is in his 9th year with the team and was named associate head coach in 2009. He was an assistant coach on the Sioux men's basketball team in 2001 and had a short stint as assistant coach with the South Dakota State women's basketball team in 2008. Brewster will be replacing Gene Roebuck, who after 2 decades is calling it a career. And though his run is coming to an end, his legacy at UND will never be forgotten. Fans of Fighting Sioux women's basketball have seen many historic moments at home games, but this one isn't like any of the others. And for head coach Gene Roebuck, it will be one to remember. Roebuck took over the head coaching position in 1988. And after 25 years of historic wins and championships, it all culminates here with one final game in front of the home crowd.
Coaching isn't an easy thing to do. I mean, you really got to be the right kind of person to motivate people and get to see the best out of people. And really, it takes a lot of talent to do that. So doing that for 25 years is something really respectable.
Roebuck is only the 5th head coach in team history, and his 25 years at the helm are more than the 4 previous coaches combined.
It's been 25 years, and the last game, it doesn't really hit you.
Even in his final season, Roebuck is doing all that he can to help his players succeed.
Even though we're up by 20 or so at halftime, he's still on us to keep on pushing because he's been in games where they'll be up by 25 and then they'll lose it in the end. So he's just trying to make sure that we don't do that. I've really been having to focus on my shooting because when I came in here, I was a good shooter, but it slowly fell last year. So he's been really working with me to become a better shooter for this season, and I think it's paid off a lot.
I'm so proud of all our players that have gone through and played and gotten to that point where they're a senior and they worked as hard as they can and they become the best they can be, and they're confident, and when they get done with UND, they're going to go out in the world and do a great job in whatever they want to do.
And on this night, Roebuck and the Fighting Sioux did what they are very accustomed to doing.
First of all, I'm glad we won.
The last win, in front of those that have seen so many. And Roebuck has won 3 national championships and racked up more than 600 wins in his career, all with the Sioux.
And they still have a few games left of the season. It'll be interesting to see if they can add more wins to that total.
Yeah, it's true.
Thanks, CJ. The ballroom of MSUM's Memorial Union is often home to trade shows and lectures. Recently, students made perfect use of the ballroom, turntables included. Zach Denzer takes you inside the party.
The greatest event that MSUM has ever thrown.
That's how Master of Ceremonies Jeremy Gonzalez described the first annual Skyline Party, a visually powerful electronic dance hosted by KMSC Dragon Radio and the Dragon Entertainment Group. Through the night and into the morning, 5 DJs presented their unique styles to a crowd that Gonzalez says didn't seem to stop growing.
Around like 11:30, I got on stage again, and like I could have crowd surfed if I wanted to. There were so many people.
Party, so give it up for Eric live, man. This man's about to break it down. The party!
Your main job is to keep the crowd involved, to keep the whole crowd hype, and we managed to do that by handing out free CDs, t-shirts, getting girls to dance on stage.
The massive turnout at the show, Gonzalez says, can be attributed to the Tri-College entry, which separates Skyline from any other MSUM event. The MC says he is also hoping to organize future shows in a similar way.
There's gonna be future events. Like I'm actually working now to like get like kind of like a dubstep and a rap show combined for like the spring.
Skyline 2012 may be over, but the atmosphere that the dance created, Gonzalez says, has now become the standard for future parties to come. With photographer Shoko Akiyama, Zach Denzer, Campus News.
Well, that looked like it was a fun time for students.
Yeah, it looked like something you guys want to go to?
Absolutely. The music, the people, it looked like a really fun time.
Yeah, we're definitely there. Well, thanks for watching this edition of Campus News.
We leave you with more footage from the Skyline Dance at MSU Moorhead.
Thanks for joining us and have a great week.
Campus News is produced by the Television News Workshop in the Department of Mass Communications at Minnesota State University Moorhead in cooperation with Prairie Public Television.